The first train carrying Russian troops and equipment has arrived in Belarus. Everything is by the book, loud statements and promises of strong friendship. But what is really behind this latest wave of allied activity?
Today, the military alliance between Russia and Belarus is an essential condition for the further development of our countries. This is of great importance given the current threats. With the start of the special military operation, this became a top priority, said a serviceman of the Russian armed forces.
The Belarusian Ministry of Defense immediately reported preparations have begun for the strategic exercise Zapad 2025, which is scheduled for September. They insist that the maneuvers are supposedly routine and are held every 2 years. But history teaches us it was precisely under the guise of exercises in 2021 that Russia moved troops to the Ukrainian border and already at the beginning of 2022 launched a full-scale invasion.
The very first Eshalons with military equipment that have recently arrived in Belarus, they can be effectively used both for practicing coordination and joint exercises and also for the further buildup of powerful strike forces.
And although the official scenario of the exercises is still classified, its direction is obvious. After all, the manuals are the same, the scenario is the same: troop redeployment, creation of a strike force, preparation for future operations. Everything that the aggressor used to start the large-scale war with Ukraine.
In this case, coordination between Ukraine and our Western partners is necessary in order to send a signal, I believe, not only to the Russian Federation, but also to Belarus about the inadmissibility of using these exercises as a cover for preparations for offensive actions. After all, we understand that the Russians still have the temptation, for example, to open a northern front against Ukraine or to launch a special operation against, say, the Suwalki corridor. Obviously, that would mean Poland, that would mean Lithuania. And there are various scenarios.
The key question remains the scale. So far, the official statements mention 12, 13, or 14,000 servicemen. However, according to the intelligence services of the Baltic states, up to 150,000 troops could be involved in the maneuvers. If these numbers are confirmed, it would be the largest concentration of troops on NATO's eastern flank in recent years.
The Russian Federation and Belarus will likely attempt to significantly downplay the actual number of servicemen participating in these extensive military exercises. Therefore, the risks will remain. But let's carefully observe to what extent, in this particular case, the comprehensive preventive process will actually effectively work. After all, we remember how even Kellogg himself came to visit Lukashenko. We also remember a number of statements and the current redeployment of those same German Eurofighter jets to Poland, and many other actions involving the redeployment of servicemen directly to NATO's eastern flank.
At the same time, other alarming steps are emerging. For example, Belarus will form a new airborne assault brigade. Where do you think? Of course, right at the Ukrainian border. This was announced by the commander of the Belarusian Special Operations Forces, Vadim Denisenko. According to him, the units are being stationed in the Gomel region, north of Chernihiv and Kyiv regions.
As of today, this is, so to speak, the most concerning direction, which keeps all of us on alert. That is why the decision was made to create a separate airborne assault brigade there. And as of today, we have already begun forming this brigade. One of the battalions has already been formed.
We're talking about the 37th Guards Airborne Assault Brigade. Its formation is part of a large-scale strengthening of the Belarusian army. New artillery and air defense missile units are also being created. And on top of that, the parliament is discussing rewriting the law on martial law to expand the powers of the President, the Security Council, and the Ministry of Defense.
Currently, Vladimir Putin is now relying on several crucial pillars, which are essential for his continued influence and power. The first pillar is the belief that the Ukrainian response is an anomaly and that such resistance would not occur in European countries. The second assertion, a point of significant contention and debate, is that Article 5 of the foundational NATO-Washington Treaty, which outlines the principle of collective defense, is merely a myth, an unsubstantiated claim, and that the alliance, despite its stated commitments, will ultimately fail to provide an adequate, timely, and robust response to any aggression or threat. And the third crucial pillar is the deeply held belief that the People's Republic of China will significantly strengthen the overall position of the Russian Federation in terms of comprehensive economic and robust political cooperation and strategic alignment, because it is beneficial for China to put the United States in a difficult position. And thus, while the US is occupied with Russia and Europe, China will resolve the Taiwan issue.
Without a doubt, the West 2025 exercises are a challenge not only to Ukraine, but to the entire region. Despite the fact that, according to the Ukrainian State Border Guard Service, there are currently no signs of a threat to our country, Kyiv is preparing for any outcome, as are its Western allies. Poland has already announced in response to the actions of Moscow and Minsk that it will conduct its own large-scale exercises, Iron Defender, with the participation of NATO allies. The question now is whether time will show if these exercises remain merely a show of force or become yet another round of escalation.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Pokrovsk is fully under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces. Ukrainian paratroopers have released footage of the destruction of yet another sabotage group that tried to break into the city. For over a month now, the occupying forces have not stopped trying to break through into Pokrovsk. Russian military correspondents write that the Ukrainian armed forces are suffering huge losses. The aggressor's army is advancing heroically, and the defense of Pokrovsk is on the verge of collapse.
Fierce fighting near Pokrovsk. The brave are wiping out the equipment and personnel of the Ukrainian armed forces. The situation remains tense in the Pokrovsk direction, where units of the Center military group continue their successful advance. On August 8th, our fighters once again demonstrated high effectiveness in destroying enemy fortifications.
But for more than a month now, all attempts by the Russian army to enter the city have been futile. In the past 24 hours, there have been 150 clashes, a third of them specifically in the Pokrovsk direction. As of today, Pokrovsk is completely under the control of the Ukrainian army. In the Severk area, also in the Donetsk region, the so-called Severk salient is preventing the Russian army from advancing. This is the reaction of Russian assault troops after yet another failed offensive in this direction.
So how's it going? His whole leg. Look, brother, all of it. Poor guy, his whole leg stepped on it. How are you, brother? How are you doing?
Quiet, let's listen. I think he's breathing. I don't know where they are.
Here we are sitting. We wanted to go in as groups, and then they hit us. We still can't get back out of here.
The Ukrainian armed forces' defense at this location prevents the occupiers from advancing towards Sloviansk and Lyman.
Our objective is to secure a foothold on the outskirts of the city of Seversk. And most likely, considering that unfortunately the enemy is making gains from the direction of the Serebryansky forestry, the plan is to try to bypass the city altogether. And as of today, from the direction of Serebryanka and Hrihorivka, the enemy will try to bypass Seversk.
The goal of the Russian army is to eliminate this salient. Ukrainian drones are destroying assault units both day and night. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Ukrainian drones have become a real nightmare for the Russian army. FPV drones are targeting not only Russian armed forces positions, but even their vehicles.
There's an FPV drone coming at us. Looks like it didn't explode. Something's still blinking. I know what to do with it. Something's buzzing over there.
According to the Institute for the Study of War, the Russian army, despite massive losses, has not been able to advance in the Zaporizhzhia region.
Russian troops attacked northeast of Huliaipol in the areas of Zelenipol, Novodarivka, Novopil, Timirivka, and toward Novoivanivka, as well as east of Huliaipol in the areas of Zeleny High and Malinivka, but did not advance.
Unfortunately, the Russian army managed to occupy the first settlement in the Dnipropetrovsk region. These updated figures are reported by the resource Deep State. This is the village of Darkne. However, there is still no official confirmation from the General Staff. Despite the difficult situation along the entire front line, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Oleksandr Syrsky, stated in his latest interview that the war will end solely on the terms of the Ukrainian army.
The war must end in a way that benefits us, and we must do everything to achieve that. We must win, not retreat. We must destroy the enemy. We must inflict such losses that the enemy will be forced to end this war, and do so not from a position of strength, but on our terms.
And most likely these words have a solid foundation, unlike the propaganda statements coming from the Russian Federation.